What is up, everybody? It is AJ from MMA Experts, and we are doing the playoffs of PFL. Almost stumbled on my words there. PFL playoffs, number one, MacDonald versus Cooper, full card predictions and the betting tips for you guys. I am very excited for this PFL card. I think that it's high-level action throughout, from bottom to top. I think there's going to be a lot of enjoyment for you guys watching. Make sure you guys smash that like button. I need at least 125 likes on this PFL full card breakdown. Appreciate all my people for tuning in. If you're new here, subscribe too. We're covering all things MMA. We got UFC predictions, Bellator predictions, PFL predictions, and more. So anything you can ask for in this MMA community, we're covering it. So keep it locked in at MMA Experts. Thank you all so much for tuning in to these PFL playoff predictions. I cannot wait to get into it. We're going to start it off early, first fight of the night, and work our way to the top. At the top, there's some very exciting matchups, and I honestly cannot wait to get into the breakdown here. So without further ado, let's start it off with the first fight of the night. All the way down at the bottom, Hopeton Stewart versus Elvin Espinoza. So obviously, like, relatively young fighters, 5-0 versus 5-1. Both have amateur experience as well, which is actually a really good factor. MMA now, a lot of these guys have a good amount of amateur fights, so just the pro experience alone is not exactly what you're looking at. They get a lot of polish in the amateur game, and then it doesn't count on their pro record. I think that's awesome. But Hopeton, he was actually a pretty good amateur, was unbeaten. Solid striking skill set, definitely has some good wrestling skills. His scrambles are very fast. His top control is heavy. You can tell he has a good wrestling background and base. 5-1 as a pro, just one loss that was coming in the CFFC, which is pretty high level mixed martial arts on the national scene. On the other side, Elvin Espinoza, southpaw with a pretty good Thai style. He can mix up the stances. A lot of times he'll actually come out conventional and then switch to southpaw. He's well-rounded. His takedowns are excellent. If you look at his Instagram, he has like a Takedown Tuesday series. So this guy's definitely a pretty solid takedown artist. He's physically really strong too. And I think that's going to be a real big factor here. I don't think that Stewart will be able to control Espinoza here. I think he's outmatched striking. I think we see a solid performance by Espinoza, maybe more trouble than he's used to because this is the highest level of competition that he's ever fought. But I have Elvin Espinoza win by a decision over Hopeton Stewart to start the night off. Let's check out the odds here. So obviously the favorite is Espinoza. I think he's a guy they're potentially looking to build up, in these next couple of years. Only 5 fights, but I think his skill set does show tons of potential. Minus 283 favorite to the plus 252 dog. I like Espinoza to win here. Decision. He's a young fighter, though, and do you want to go bet it down? Plus 135 for that decision. That's simply because Espinoza has destroyed most of his competition. But this matchup here, Hopeton, unbeaten amateur, as I mentioned, and he's never been stopped as a pro and just one defeat there. I think that he can potentially last. Fight goes the distance here is plus 135. I'm not saying bet it down. It's an absolute lock. Neither guy with a ton of pro experience, but it wouldn't be a terrible bet. And I do think Elvin Espinoza ends up on the right side of this one and wins this fight via decision to start the night off. Let's keep on moving through this card. Kyron Bowen versus Michael Lombardo. Okay, I really am excited to see the Don Lombardo come back in action here against Kyron Bowen. On one side, Bowen hasn't had success. I mean, he's been beaten up pretty badly in his last 2. Striking wise, he tends to bring out modified Thai kickboxing style. Fights well from range, is pretty tall at 6'3". But his last 2, lost to Colin Huckbuddy and then lost to the name that's hard to pronounce there, Umalatov, Magomed Umalatov, who's unbeaten. So really no shame losing to one of those dangerous Russians. He takes on Michael Lombardo, who's coming off a win over Corey Coupe on Dana White's Contender Series. Unfortunately, wasn't signed with his performance. Boxing-wise, he's actually got a pretty crispy style. I like the way he closes distance and mixes up the hooks when he gets inside of the punching range. Actually, his level changes are pretty solid too, and his top control is very heavy. I feel like we are going to see Bowen in a bit of trouble in this matchup. I see Lombardo closing distance, getting in range, mixing it up with the hooks well. I think he gets takedowns too, gets on top, controls Bowen. I don't think this is a quick run through. I think it's a fairly dominant performance, though, by Michael Lombardo, who is a pretty strong favorite. Unanimous decision for him in this second fight of the night. Odds-wise, he's sitting around minus 293 at best value to Bowen at plus 257. I do think fight goes the distance here. Minus 125 for that to happen. Not a great bet, but not a terrible one either. Could he get a TKO off on Bowen? Definitely, if he gets superior top position and really unloads. But we've seen him win decisions before. I think he gets a decision here over Kyron Bowen in our second fight of the night. Let's keep on moving up this card. Magomed Umalatov versus Micah Terrill. This fight gets me excited. We're just talking about Umalatov with a win over Kyron Bowen. He destroyed him. It wasn't competitive. He killed him on the ground, and then he knocked him out standing up with one punch in the, first 7 seconds of the second round with an overhand. Umalatov's well-rounded. He's not just a grappler, trains at Eagles MMA. These Russian cats are on another level at this point. You look at all of Khabib's guys. They're fighting fantastic. His kickboxing skill set is very good. His top control is ferocious. He has very good grappling skills. His wrestling is excellent. The way he throws ground and pound is very efficient, and he tends to retain dominant position and not a guy that's going to be easy to get off of you. Terrill on the other side, you look at his fight against Sabah over in Bellator. It really dropped his stock. He got knocked out in one big overhand, but Sabah has tank power. I mean, nearly knocked out Paul Daly. You can't really knock the man there. He is a pretty athletic Muay Thai style of striker, does have a competent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, but he's clearly outmatched here. It's not going to be competitive. I think ferocious ground and pound is the method of victory. Magomed Umalatov, first round TKO in this matchup versus Micah Terrill. Let's see odds-wise. Umalatov, oh my goodness, the odds are wide. Minus 450, plus 300. Best value Terrill's plus 472. My advice to you would be not even considering a bet on Terrill. Fight definitely ends inside the distance. That's minus 265. I'd say that's an absolute lock, as is Umalatov here, who should put on a pretty dominant display. Definitely one of the lock picks of the week. We'll go real deep with the betting breakdown as all the props release. We'll have this week's best MMA bets maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, really depending on when all the odds are released. But right now, Magomed Umalatov is an extremely confident pick, and I think he dominates Micah Terrill. I don't see it being very competitive at all, and he moves to 11-0 as a pro. Keep an eye on this guy because he definitely has a bright future at 170. Now, moving up the card, you have Tyler Hill versus Brett Cooper. This is so interesting to me. If you guys remember, Brett Cooper previously fought at 185 pounds. It says here he's fighting at lightweight. I don't know if that is a mismark because I feel like that makes zero sense. I don't think Brett Cooper would be making that weight class, especially with Hill also being a middleweight. I'm going to take that as most likely a mistake. If they are at lightweight, I'd be shocked. Maybe welterweight. I think that's a mismark by Tapology. Both guys recently have weighed in at 180 to 184. Brett Cooper, Fudoshin on one side. What he brings into the game is a square stance for sure, bit hittable with straight punches, but tends to work for him. Pressure-heavy style. He's going to look to get your back against the cage, unload with combinations, and look for takedowns potentially. His low kicks are very heavy. He's a little bit stiff and stationary standing up, but in this matchup here, he takes on Tyler Hill, who's kind of stiff too and stationary. Granted, he does mix up his kickboxing pretty well. Decent jabs and crosses, solid kicks as well. Both guys actually have some pretty good low kicks, but I feel like Tyler Hill is more susceptible to being knocked out. I think Brett Cooper actually finds a way to get the chin. I am predicting this. This is going to be a very fun fight. I think it's a back and forth striking exchange, and I think Brett Cooper knocks out Tyler Hill in the second round. Odds-wise, what are they thinking? Brett Cooper, best value, minus 205. Tyler Hill, plus 190. Let's see what that inside the distance play is there. Fight goes the distance, plus 130. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 170. Minus 170, fight ends inside the distance? not bad. I do think that it will. And I think Brett Cooper will be the winner of this matchup by a KO here. Next fight of the night should get a lot of people excited because Aubin-Mercier beat Marcin Held, who beat Natan Schultz, the former champion, and he actually owns wins over two guys now in the semifinals. That's the one issue sometimes with the playoff bracket thing, is that you're going to end up getting into this odd situation where you have guys losing fights and still being in the playoffs, and then guys getting kept out that have won. But it is what it is. I still really enjoy PFL's action. There's so many high-level guys. This is no exception of a matchup. If you guys remember, Darrell Horcher fought Habib and got destroyed. I believe he was on short notice many years back now. Aubin-Mercier, also UFC veteran. So battle of UFC veterans. On one side, you have Aubin-Mercier, who put on a good display against Marcin Held. He's a southpaw. And one thing with Aubin is I always felt like he had a good pressure-heavy clinch game, okay striking, but he's really improved the striking. Like, I can officially say he has some solid kickboxing skills at this point. Really has a pressure-heavy attack and will also throw a lot of high kicks as well, which gets you thinking, and he's not worried about going to the ground. Aubin-Mercier is very competent with his grappling skills, whether on top or on bottom. Solid straight left hand to right hook combination. Need to watch out for that. It definitely could cause some problems for Horcher here. Darrell Horcher on the other side is a southpaw. Decent kickboxing and wrestling skills. Really likes that pressure overhand and chopping down at low kicks. Most recently, he had a quick slam win that was against 6-3 Vadim Ogar in CFFC, but prior to that, it had been almost 3 years since he fought. And that was Roosevelt Roberts, who choked him out in the first round. Also lost to Scott Holtzman. He did go the distance there. But he takes on, I feel like, a polished and refined Aubin-Mercier. I don't think it's all that competitive here. I think Aubin-Mercier could potentially have a showcase fight in this matchup, and I think he wins. I'm going Oliver Aubin-Mercier, submission round number 2. He's going to beat Darrell Horcher here, and I do believe for next season of PFL's lightweight division, keep an eye on Oliver Aubin-Mercier. He's a longtime veteran of the game, ultimate fighter, winner, I believe. I mean, this guy has been around for years and years. So you got to give Aubin-Mercier some love here. I believe he was the winner. Now I got to double check that. He may have been the finalist. I think he fought La Prise in the finals potentially. Let's see if I'm right about that. Yes, he fought La Prise. I think that was the Ultimate Fighter Tournament Championship. Yep, he was okay. So he was the finalist, and he lost a split decision to Chad La Prise. That's a classic season, man. But really, betting wise in this one, I feel very confident in Aubin-Mercier, minus 400 favorite to like plus 300 dog, plus 363. Fight could potentially go the distance. That's minus 170 for it to end inside the distance, plus 130. I'd hold off on the inside or not inside distance bet. Wait till all the props drop, because I do think there's going to be some better bets we could potentially make. Even Aubin-Mercier at the minus 400 favorite could be a parlay addition here, and I do think he's definitely going to win against Darrell Horcher. Good fight on this undercard, man. This whole card's got me pretty pumped. Now, the featured prelim of the night, Curtis Millender, tough losing streak, versus Gleison Tibau, who owns a very controversial but still a victory over Rory MacDonald, who's now in the main event of the evening. As I said, that's kind of the weird thing with the PFL playoffs. Sometimes things get a little out of hand, but it is what it is. We still have a pretty interesting matchup here between Millender and Tibau. I'm very excited for this fight. Curtis Millender is an extremely athletic striker, and I think a lot of people have written him off because of bad losses recently, but he's not a bad fighter. Like, when he's on his game, he's dynamite. Really nasty kicks. His knee stomps are fantastic. He's very fast. His lateral movement is quick. He controls range well. His boxing is very crispy. Fast hands with power. On the other side, he takes on Gleison Tibau, southpaw, which does make it interesting, right? Pressure-heavy striker who's very physically strong. He's got solid hooks when he comes to close inside of range and a pretty good grappling skill set. But in this matchup here, he is at a serious height disadvantage. 6 inches taller is Curtis Millender than Gleison Tibau. He also brings in a 10-inch reach advantage. Normally, wrestling and submission defense is a worry for Millender. The thing is with this matchup, that serious height advantage, I really feel he'll be able to fend off Tibau's takedowns. I'm going to go with the underdog and Curtis Millender. I think he wins this fight by a decision, and he does show improved wrestling defense in this matchup. He's going to beat Gleison Tibau, who somehow has a win over Rory MacDonald, who may end up being the champion of this entire tournament. But that is what it is. That is PFL at times. Odds-wise, he's sitting around minus 120, even down at minus 107 at best value for Tibau, to plus 120 dog Curtis Millender. I like the underdog here. Fight goes the distance, minus 185. I do expect it will, and I'll pick Millender to win by a decision. But if you're more nervous of betting the winner, or maybe you're thinking potentially Tibau but don't want to bet him straight, maybe you do that fight goes the distance bet, because I think we're looking at a high possibility of that result, because Tibau, kind of a guy known to go the distance. Millender, he can go the distance. He has in the past, but just some bad situations with very good grapplers as of recent. But I think in this matchup, he'll perform much better. And it's a serious step down in competition. Rory MacDonald, yes, had a close fight with Tibau, different stylistic matchup. I think Millender could potentially go out here and win this one on a hard-fought decision. He needs it with a 3-fight losing streak. We'll see what happens. I'll pick him to win, and I am excited to see them on the scales as well. Let's jump to the main card. Make sure you guys smash the hell out of that like button. As I said, I need at least 125 likes on this video. We're covering PFL, the full card, fight predictions, and betting tips for you guys. And make sure you stay tuned in to MMA Experts. So if you're new, subscribe, because we got a ton of content coming out all week long. We got this week's best MMA bets, where I'll break down the best potential bets for Bellator and PFL, some cross parlays, lots of things to stay locked in at. So smash the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't seen the Bellator predictions yet, go check them out as well, because there's a ton of quality MMA on this week, even without the UFC. But let's talk about this fight. Loik Radzhabov versus Alex Martinez. I like this matchup. It's a rematch. You remember Loik Radzhabov arguably lost a controversial decision to Alex Martinez. You go back and watch that fight. The thing Martinez did, which I believe awarded him the judge's decision in PFL, is he was very active off of his back. That's something different about PFL, is they do tend to award activity. Like, the judging is all over the place in PFL. I know they have like their weird efficiency stats and the fighter smart cage thing, whatever that means. They have their own method. I guess they have an algorithm for it. Alex Martinez was able to win that fight on the judges' scorecards, even though Loik Radzhabov had a ton of top control. I feel like Alex Martinez could potentially win this rematch. I think there's more pressure on Radzhabov coming in here because it was a controversial first fight. He really could have won it, but I like the style of Alex Martinez off of his back. I think that he's going to be more prepared for the aggressive grappling style attack that Loik is going to bring here, because look at Loik. He's going to rush you with punches and look to get fights to the ground or against the cage. Alex Martinez is very comfortable off his back, constantly throwing up submissions. His guillotine choke is something that just naturally comes to him. He shoots for it a fair amount. I actually think Alex Martinez can win this rematch. It's not an easy fight. He is an underdog, and I got to lean the underdog to win this bout, especially since he won the last one, whether controversial or not. But the fact is, I think he could have the blueprint to beat Loik Radzhabov after fighting him and having success, even if he could have potentially lost that decision. I think Alex Martinez for the victory here. I think by a decision. Not an easy fight, not a lock of the night, but a dog play for sure. And I do think Alex could beat Loik Radzhabov here to start this main card going. Odds-wise, Loik is pretty solid favorite, minus 165, minus 145, depending where you go. Alex Martinez, plus 143, plus 130 on the lower end, even plus 125. I think if you can get him at like that plus 140 value, it would be a pretty decent dog play. I do believe fight goes the distance. The bet on that already up at minus 215. I do think it has some value, though, potentially, if you are looking to maybe parlay things up. But I got Alex Martinez win by a decision over Loik Radzhabov, and he'll go 2-0 against the dangerous Tajikistani. Let's keep on moving up this card. The featured bout of the night, Clay Collard versus Raush Manfio. Winner fights the Radzhabov-Martinez winner, so tons of pressure on these guys. This card is going to have, especially the main card, a ton of intensity. There's going to be tension because these guys know they win. They're seeing their next opponent. I love it. That's what I love about PFL is this tournament bracket. Clay Collard is a dynamic striker. He went out into the boxing game and had a ton of success. Granted, losing some fights, but not getting completely washed out. He was competitive. He has a good amount of pro experience as a boxer. His MMA boxing is fantastic. He rips the body very nicely. He closes distance at a very high level. Is a bit susceptible to takedowns. On the other side, Manfio is a pressure-heavy striker. Likes to keep his high guard up a bit and his hands a little bit far from his face at times, but up high, which could make it a little bit hard for Collard to get inside of the range because, I mean, reach is equivalent here, though Collard is a little bit taller. I feel like Manfio, before he fought Pettis, I didn't expect as much out of him, but he proved that he has a pretty competent game. He's a pretty accurate striker, though a bit low volume, a lot of two-punch combinations, super physically strong and durable, and in the boxing range, he fights well, and he has legit power in his hands. I think that him and Collard are going to engage in a competitive fight. I think Collard slightly edges him with volume, fends off takedown attacks, and I think Clay Collard wins this fight by a competitive decision. But by no means is this an easy fight against Raush Manfio. He's definitely live here. Clay Collard sitting up at around the -150 favorite. Manfio +148 dog. I do believe fight goes the distance here. That would be sitting at -210. It's expected to. There's a lot of fights on this card expected to go the distance. It's extremely high level MMA. Granted, 1 inch could change the thing the complete other way and somebody could go to sleep. But I think Clay Collard wins this bout against Raush Manfio and moves to the finals. Potentially Alex Martinez and Clay Collard in the PFL finals for that lightweight division. Now, co-main event of the evening, Magomedkerimov versus Sadibou Sai. Sadibou Sai was a dog in his last fight against the much shorter Alexei Kunchenko, who had a fantastic record. But in this matchup here, he takes on a guy at 6'1", Magomedkerimov, who's an extremely difficult guy to deal with. I think that we have to note the takedowns are going to be a factor here. I feel like Magomed is definitely going to look to wrestle. It's not going to be easy to get inside of Sadibou Sai. I mean, he's a tricky guy to deal with from range. He's a southpaw who's got super long reach for this 170-pound division, 80 inches. He does use his lead hand to manage range, and he does it at a high level. His kicks are fantastic. He fights really well off the back foot. As I said, he's tall, he's long. There's a lot of factors that make him really tricky to deal with for Magomedkerimov. Also, watch out for the body kicks of Sadibou Sai. Granted, here, I think he needs to be cautious throwing too many kicks because I think Magomed catches one, puts him on his back, and I don't see Sai getting up. I think that the first round will be more competitive than the odds will have it, but Kerimov will still take over. It's still a fairly one-sided fight. Striking-wise, I think he could run into maybe a bit of trouble at moments, but not enough to put him to sleep here. I think that he uses his strikes to set up takedowns. He finds a way on top, and he attacks for submissions. That's what he's known for. I feel like that's what's going to happen here. Best method to fend off Kerimov tends to be knee stomps. I think we're going to see that from Sai a bit, but I don't think it'll be all that effective. I think second round submission for Magomedkerimov here over Sadibou Sai, and he is a massive favorite, sitting all the way up at -549. That's at best value, +455 for Sai. Odds-wise, let's see the inside the distance. Fight goes the distance, +170. Fight ends inside the distance, -230. We will wait for some props to drop before throwing down on any inside the distance or not bet for that one. But I think Magomedkerimov, very confident pick. He's going to beat Sadibou Sai in this matchup. Let's move to the main event of the evening. And if you have not yet, smash that like button. We need 125 likes on this video. Subscribe if you guys are new here. We're covering PFL, the first episode of the playoffs. Cannot wait for this card. Main event, Rory MacDonald, Ray Cooper III. Unfortunate, controversial loss for Rory in the last one, but it is what it is. He still was the right man in the playoff round. Thankfully, it didn't affect that standing. He takes on Ray Cooper III. Tricky style. He's former champion here in PFL, pressure striker with very good boxing skills, closes distance well, nice hooks, very dangerous with them. When he's inside, he will rip you with them. Watch out for the overhand as well. And he has a really good wrestling base too, which is not going to be easy for Rory to deal with. But Rory MacDonald is extremely well-rounded. He fights well from the kickboxing range. He has a pretty solid style at this point. I mean, the guy's been in the game for so many years. He's fought a who's who. I'd say he's one of the most well-rounded fighters potentially on the planet. Lots of lateral movement and range management, a really nice jab, and his kicks to the body from range are something to watch for. I don't see Ray Cooper III's offensive wrestling being a huge factor here, more defensively. You look at Gleison Tibau beating Rory, and people will start to think, oh, I could see a path to victory also for Ray. Sure, there's a potential path, but I don't think it's extremely likely. Something about Gleison Tibau. He's a tricky southpaw, and obviously I don't feel he even won that fight against Rory MacDonald, but he went the distance. He made it competitive. He's a tricky southpaw with a ton of experience, dangerous grappling game, super physically strong. Ray Cooper does bring some of those attributes, but not at that same level. I think that Rory MacDonald has a lot more success in the striking exchanges in this matchup. I think Rory MacDonald wins this fight by a unanimous decision, and he moves to the finals of this PFL tournament. Now, betting-wise, Rory MacDonald, very slight favorite. Best value is -117. Cooper, best value dog, +130, but the odds can be as close as -125 to +105. Fight probably goes the distance here for it, too. It's -135. I like Rory MacDonald to win. I do think it's a pretty confident pick in the main event. I think he's going to beat Ray Cooper III. And we have ourselves a very interesting first playoff series, because this is going to be all playoffs from here on out in PFL, which is just super exciting because they do deliver with playoff action. Now, I will pull up best fight odds because I got to send you guys off with some parlays. I can't just throw you out just yet. Let's talk about parlays to play for this PFL card here. Let's see. All right. They still have the Loughnane-Movlid fight. Unfortunately, I do believe we lost that matchup. Unless they recently added it, because I'm not seeing it here. If Movlid Hubalayev fighting Loughnane, I think that might be a mismark there, but we don't have it on Tapology. If they do end up having it, you guys know I will break it down, but it's not here at the moment. But let's talk about this potential parlay here. Some good fights on the card that I think are worth a parlay. I think you have to play Umalatov. I think you can also find confidence in, where is he? There he is. Aubin-Mercier. And now from here, you know, your other bets would potentially be more risky, but I think you can also play Magomedkerimov -128. That is the $1,000 parlay for PFL. If you want to throw a lot of money at it, that's the one I'd suggest you do. I think it can succeed for you and deliver with some solid money potentially. If I had to add in somebody else, I feel like Brett Cooper really should win this fight. That'd be +167. And then also, I also have confidence in my boy Michael Lombardo, the Don, the Italiano, +256 for this 5-fight parlay. I think there's a lot of value with it here. I'm super excited for this Bellator card. I think it's going to, this PFL card. I think it's going to deliver. We also got Bellator on, so I'm thinking about all the high-level MMA. We'll break down the bets a lot deeper as all the odds release and we do that best bets video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, smash the hell out of that like button, guys. I need at least 125 likes on this PFL full card breakdown. Thank you to everybody tuning in. And I'm going to chat it up with you guys for a bit inside of this live chat. Let's see what you guys have been talking about here. Yeah, anytime, bro. You know I love research in this game. How old is Ray Cooper? He's what is he, 30, 32? Might be wrong. He might be 29. 28, actually. 28. Wow, I really overestimated. He's a young boy. Ray Cooper, the young boy. Ray Cooper's a savage. He's definitely a savage. What's up, MMA Locker Room? How's everybody doing in the chat, man? I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Cooper versus McDonald's over 1.5 for sure. I don't blame you for fading Collar. It's a hard fight. But I do think that Clay does pull it off here. I think Millender definitely could win here. Definitely. You know, you can't use MMA math too much with the Collard fight, with the Pettis fight. Because if you play too much MMA math, you're going to end up striking out. Because you look at, you know, the fight game, this guy beats that guy, this guy loses to that guy. That's just how it ends up being. It's not all guaranteed. Your boy Curtis, yeah, he's back, man. I think I'm going with your boy Millender. I know you like him, MMA Locker Room. I know you done some interviews with him and shit. He's good. I like him too. His striking's so good. I hope he gets a win, man. Yeah, no, Collar definitely ran into a bit of trouble with Luderback. But Luderback's a real hard fight. Yeah, Collar was in the UFC for a while, man. Yeah, I think that we're gonna see W for Martinez for sure. Yeah, guys, smash that like button. Destroy the like button. As I said, 125 likes on this thing. You think Manfio destroys Clay? Okay. I think he outworks him with higher volume. Collar 29-28. Definitely see that. I'm gonna probably try to watch both, man. Can I shoot a shout out to Vensan? Vensan, shout out to you, bro. Hey, anytime. Head Leon. Yeah, bro. We keep covering all the high level fight game stuff, man. Covering Bellator and PFL is something I love to do. 12 leg parlay, 6 Bellator PFL. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely do a cross parlay on the best bets video. Fading Rory this time. He looked terrible against Gleison. Even if you think he won. Oh yeah, I totally agree. I don't blame you for fading him. Hamlet killed me too, especially because he had 2 rounds done in the bag. I think the dog of the card. I mean, right now, early lean for dog of the card. This isn't the best bets official, but I feel like Martinez. I feel like I like Martinez as my dog of the card. Also, Curtis Millender. Yeah, Cooper could win in the main, but I don't think it's an easy fight at all. Because if you look at Cooper's style, it's very different than what you get out of Gleison Tibau. And Gleison Tibau has so many goddamn fights, man. Yeah, parlaying anyone with the name EV or OV. Oh, yeah, if it ends with a V, you should be good to go as far as parlays, man. 99% of the time, you should be good to go on that. Because I feel like these Russians are taking over the fight game. I think you guys can agree. I mean, how good have they all looked? It's like not even competitive. They're destroying everyone in their path. It's honestly sick. I'm loving it. I'm a big fan of all the Eagles MMA guys. I think that there is definitely some future world champions coming out of that camp. It's all savages. And honestly, I love it. I really do. I'm so excited, man. Bellator this week, PFL this week, all fire. And then next week, we have PFL, Bellator, and we also have UFC. That's going to be a crazy ass week for live streams because I'm definitely going to hit play by play for all three. I got to make it up for because I can't promise we're going to have a live stream this week because I'm going to be in Tennessee. But if I have a chance to live stream at the very least just the main card, I will. I would love to live stream the main card for PFL and break down some of those fights, man. That is my goal. I can't guarantee it because I am going to have some family stuff going on. I'll be out of town. Who knows how late I'll be out. But if I am available, I will definitely stream it. It's going to be good stuff, man. Good stuff. Even without a UFC week, we still get fire action. That's why I don't like get all freaked out when I don't see a UFC card. As I know in the back of my mind, we still got high-level MMA. And if there's not Bellator, if there's not PFL, if there's not anything else, there's probably LFA. I also want to start watching more Titan FC. That's one of my goals as well. You think the Russians are mismatches? Well, the Russians are savage. Best violence or fight goes the distance bet on the card. Violence bet. I definitely think the Cooper fight with Hill is going to be violent. And fight goes the distance. I think probably the Loik Radzhabov and Martinez fight. Also violence in the Magomedkerimov fight. I think the fight between early guys, be careful on. I think Umalatov's another violence one. Cooper violence. I think decision potentially for the Millender fight, but maybe skip it. I'd put you more to decision for the Loik Radzhabov fight. And the Collard fight and Manfio, I think, is high likelihood of going to a decision, but could also not. But high likelihood for sure. High likelihood for sure. Hey, thank you, bro. Yeah, you know I'm always throwing the content out there, bro. We're on that constant grind. What else would I want to do, man? Olivier, Lombardo, Parlay -112. That's solid. That's solid. There's lots of good plays to make, guys. I can't wait to break down the betting for this card fully when all the props drop, because I really think there's going to be some cashers here. Isn't KB Bular fighting soon? Do I have him winning? Who's he fighting? I don't really follow KB Bular. I thought he was cut from the UFC. If it's in the UFC, whoever he's fighting, I'm picking. You don't even need to show me notes, man. KB Bular needs to work his boxing a lot, because he's literally fighting out there like a Taekwondo guy. It's just not all that great of a style. But guys, that is pretty much it for me tonight. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Smash the hell out of that like button. As I said, at least 125 likes on this video. You guys are all fantastic. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the support. It is much appreciated. I'll be live tomorrow with some content as well. You guys are the bomb. Thank you guys. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you all very soon.